Welcome back to the Road to Waifu, everybody. A channel about all of your favorite waifus, except for this episode and many of our other episodes.
And all of our episodes.
Today, we're going to be talking about Kiki's delivery service in order to continue our Ghibli Fest festivities. Eric and I have
Hooray!
some thoughts lined up, so yeah, I guess first things first. General thoughts on the movie.
Yep, this one's one of my favorites. I If I had to rank them, I definitely rank this one along like Labta higher than Totoro because I don't vibe as much with Totoro.
It's so interesting sometimes whenever I talk to you because we
Look,
have
I'm
so
not
many
gonna
discussions.
look. I can like a movie. I just refuse to give it a number. Okay, like I'm
This
not
is
gonna give
true,
it an
but
arbitrary number.
you are though giving it an arbitrary number by saying it's
No,
better
I'm giving
than
it an
this other movie.
arbitrary like. Well, I like this. I can like a movie more. I just won't give it an actual value. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is a 7. This is a
That's
7 out of 8.
that's fair. I fail to see. It's like a distinction without a difference. I don't.
Just
Anyway,
watch the damn movie.
it's a good
It's a good
movie.
movie.
I
Watch the damn
recommend.
movie.
Watch the movie. This is your spoiler alert if you somehow haven't seen this film from 1989. But yeah, let's dive in. The first
Okay,
thing.
so first thing I want to talk
Oh,
about
okay.
the
Eric,
sort
take it
of
away, Eric.
the opening like music cue is fantastic. Like, oh, can you turn on the radio and that's the opening song? I always love when movies do that particular trope. I don't know if there's like a
Well,
term for it.
wait. Okay, so Eric, I think, has seen the subbed version. I've only seen the dubbed version, and in the dubbed, it doesn't open with a song. It opens with a newscast. It opens with like a announcer dude on the radio. It doesn't open with a song on the radio.
Interesting. So when Kiki and Gigi are flying that first time and there's that
Oh,
extended flight
that you're not
sequence.
talking about the very, very
No,
beginning,
no, no,
like
no.
oh
I'm talking about I'm talking about the opening credits crawl when
yes,
the movie
okay,
really starts, not the cold open.
got it.
I don't
Okay,
know if it's really a cold open because it's just hey, this is what's gonna happen in the plot, not like a separate event because that would usually be cold open. But I don't know what the term for that little intro bit would be. You know what I'm saying?
this is where Eric surprisingly has more like lingo knowledge than I do, even though I'm in the industry. What is a cold open? What does that mean?
SNL does this a lot where, hey, we're gonna have this sort of scene at the beginning of the show before we get to our opening credits. You know how they always do the "It's Saturday Night Live" blah.
Doesn't every movie have? Because you're talking about the scene before the credits or before the opening
Yes.
title sequence.
Let me do a quick Google search because I think cold opens are a little bit weird, different.
Okay. This is fascinating, by the way. I had no idea that there was a word or term for what happens before the title sequence. So this is
Practice of
news to
jumping
me.
directly into a story at the beginning of the show before the title sequence or opening credits are shown. I guess
Isn't
that
that
kind of counts as. I
isn't
guess
that
that kind
everything?
of counts as. Sometimes a movie will do a slightly separate storyline before the storyline realigns itself with the opening. You see that a lot in horror movies where, hey, the killer went after this person, they died, and now we're gonna follow up with our main character.
How is that not? See, I'm just struggling with how is that not a cold open though? Because in even if it's not directly related to, I guess, the story that you're going to tell ultimately, it is setting up that story and you're still like being dropped into that universe. Like the story
Mhm.
has to start somewhere. I like I just feel like that
I think
describes all movie beginnings.
in this particular case, usually it's like normally it's scene, title card, rest of movie.
Right.
For Kiki, it's like a rolling cold open almost, where it's the intro, and then during that title crawl, Kiki is still doing things timeline wise from the opening. So I'm just wondering if there's like a specific term for that
I'm
in
wondering
film.
that too because
So
I'm
if
not.
someone knows, please let us know in the comments because
Yeah.
I feel like there should be, right? But that's but like you but in the cold open, the main thing about it is that usually there's like a quick cut to a title card.
Sure. So you're saying that in Kiki's, the title card doesn't break up the action?
Correct. So I
So
was
then it's
wondering if
not
there's
a
like a
cold action.
separate
So it's not a
cold
cold
open
open.
as a result, and I was wondering if there's a specific term for that. It's
Got it.
the original point I was trying to make.
Got it.
Potentially not well. I'm sorry. It's 7:30 a.m.
No, it's good. I had never heard of
Ooh.
that term before, and based on that description, I would personally take the stance that Kiki's is not a cold open
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't break up the title sequence doesn't break up the
Right.
action. So, but you were
And
not.
I feel like I really like when movies do that. I just can't name a lot of movies that do that.
It's not very common nowadays because
Mm.
now you have to have your stupid hook, the thing that you put at the beginning of the movie to make people want to watch it, and it's always something stupid. Either it's like you've jumped to the end of the movie, you show that first title sequence and then you travel back in time, or you do something that it happened way before the events of the movie that set up the plot. Like I don't
I
think
will say
anything.
I've been recently watching a few movies that it jumps right into the plot after the title sequence. You just open with all the studios that made the movie, title card, and then the rest of the movie.
What movies are you watching? Because I don't know of any modern movies that do that. They all have a hook at the beginning, which is
Well,
a
I'm
2 to
primarily
5.
watching horror movies, so that probably
Oh,
is where it is.
yeah. Yeah. Horror is like a separate genre, honestly.
But we
I'm
also like our cold opens, so it's like great.
Yeah, that's
We get
true.
both.
So, anyway, you were not talking about that scene before the title sequence. You were talking about when Kiki leaves home.
Correct.
Yeah. I agree with you. I love when movies do that. It's usually some sort of montage, which is kind of what we get with Kiki because
Mm-hmm.
Kiki is heading out of town. I do think though that this whole thing brings up, well, what was your point in in that?
It's always fun when a movie uses the sort of theme song canonically in the movie. So
Yeah.
the theme song is played on the radio, which we, the audience, also get to listen to.
Right. Yeah, I like it when they do little tricks like that fill out the universe.
It's
And
a little,
Miyazaki is
it's
great at
sort
doing
of
it.
breaking the fourth wall there,
I don't know that
almost.
it qualifies as breaking the fourth wall, but because breaking the fourth wall would be talking directly to the audience or cluing the audience into something specific. This is more
Oh,
like
you're right.
pulling the audience into the world more. Um, by just doubling down on the reality of the world. Which actually
That's
brings me
fair.
to one of the things that I really like about Kiki, which we actually talked a little bit about when we talked about Josie, which, if you haven't seen that episode, check it out, which is that Kiki being a witch and just witches in general is an accepted fact of the world. There's
Yeah.
no need to explain it. You don't at any point want it to be
I
explained. It just is.
Well, that's the nice thing about Miyazaki films. Typically, all these fantastical elements are just a fact of life, and it's off the top of my head. Maybe Spirited Away kind of is like, well, not even Spirited Away, where the fantastical elements aren't really accepted initially. It's more of a, it starts pretty normal, but then you cross that borderline to the mysticism
Yeah,
of
and
that movie.
it has to be explained to Chihiro because Chihiro
Yeah,
doesn't know what's going on, and then you as the audience get to learn because Chihiro is learning.
right.
But in this world, in Kiki specifically, the world is already established. Everyone knows that witches exist and that they're a thing. Even in the town that Kiki ends up going to, everyone has heard of witches. They've just never encountered one, but it's
Right.
still very normal. It's like it's not like, "Oh my god, a witch." It's like, "Oh, a witch. We haven't had one in a
Oh my
while.
god, burn the witch! Burn the witch! That would have been a very different movie.
That would have been a very, very different movie. Um, but speaking of different movies, there's three versions to this movie. Did you know about this?
Yes, I am aware of the multiple versions. There's the original Japanese version,
Yeah,
the English dub from. Do I
the
have the
the
date on
original
it?
dub. I forget what
Um,
company did it. I should have
I think it
written
was
it down.
I think it was. It might have
No,
been Disney.
no. It was Streamline. That was it.
Oh,
Streamline.
and then there's also the 2010 dub.
That's the Disney one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So, for
yes.
those of you that don't know, there's the original Japanese that Miyazaki conceptualized and directs. Then it comes to the American markets. Well, it goes to foreign markets just in general. And if someone has some fun tidbits about the dubbed version in any other languages, let us know. But
Oh, I
we're
do
familiar.
actually. So, since we're already talking about this, a little out of order of where I was planning on talking about it, but there were several English dub changes in the original dub that were approved by Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. So,
In the Streamline one?
y- yes, so there were
Really?
additions and embellishments to the musical score. If you ever watch the Japanese sub, there's a lot of quiet moments where there's no music happening or no sound effects. It's just sort of life.
Hmm.
They put they put sound effects over those sections to because that was their decision.
Well,
Uh
that's actually something that also happened, and we didn't really talk about this too much with Totoro, but that happened in Totoro too,
mhm.
where in order to adapt it for a different type of audience, because when you take something abroad, the audience is different, they consume media differently, they added a lot more music. Like Joe
Right.
Hisaishi for Totoro had to add like 30 minutes to his
Mhm.
score in order for the movie to be adapted into English.
Yeah, and I admittedly am unaware of this because I just watch it subbed. For Gigi in the Japanese original, even though Gigi is male, because of Japan's cultural understanding of a cat, Gigi is voiced in a very feminine voice because for Japan, cats are more feminine.
嫌な感じ。あの猫見たピー。
Interesting. Is
Um,
wait, so is Gigi male in the original version?
yes,
Oh, okay.
Gigi is still male, but voiced by a female. Sort of like how Goku's voiced by a female and
Yeah,
has more of a
Naruto's
feminine
voiced by a
voice.
female too.
Yeah, it's a gender specific cultural difference, and when it was dubbed, then you have a very masculine voice
The
for
cat thing I
Gigi.
could definitely see being a cultural difference, but with most of the time, one of the things that I learned, and maybe this is evident to general people, but it wasn't evident to me. The reason that females get cast in a lot of roles is primarily because of tonality. And if you're casting for a younger character, because you need the voice to match the visual. Men typically, because their voice drops because just physiologically their voice gets deeper, they're unable to play young children and even teenagers sometimes. So you get females to play those roles because they sound more like kids. The cat thing I think is definitely probably a cultural thing, but like with Naruto, because Naruto in the beginning of the series is 13, I can't play a 13-year-old. I don't sound like a 13-year-old. It would be very obvious that the voice actor doesn't match the character. So they get a female to do it
If you voice Naruto, we'd finally get a rendition of Naruto that sounds like they've been smoking their entire life.
their whole life, which is a mere 13 years.
Yes. In the Japanese original, by the end of the movie, Kiki loses the ability entirely to communicate with Gigi, but the American version added a
Yeah.
line that implied that she could understand him.
This was
Miyazaki said that Gigi is Kiki's immature side. So by the end of the movie, because of her life experiences, she's matured beyond needing to just talk to her cat at in the movie.
ジジイ
Yeah.
or in life.
This was actually something that I wanted to ask you about because Miyazaki has gone back and forth on it
Hmm.
over the years. Like you can
Right.
look up an interview where he says the immaturity thing, and you can look up interviews where he says something different about her being
Hmm.
able to regain the ability to speak to him as her reconnecting with what it is that connects her to her witch powers. Like I don't
Right.
like he go
It very much seems dependent on his mood, which fair because there's not a clear set answer to this.
So this is my question to you. What is your opinion of that dynamic? Like what is your interpretation originally and what is your interpretation after knowing that Miyazaki has gone back and forth and there kind of isn't a canonical
I
answer?
I mean, look, when you start involving magical powers, just let people talk to the damn cat. Like I talk to my cat and she doesn't talk back. Okay, like
Well,
just talk to the cat.
I
It's
think that's
fine.
the difference though is that Gigi does talk back to
Hmm.
Kiki and
Right.
it does seem to be a aspect of being a witch is this ability
Yes.
to talk to her familiar.
And I think that is also an artifact of the original book that it's based on.
Right. So, let's get
So
to
I
that.
have
Let's get to that in a second because I do have thoughts about the whole Gigi thing.
right.
Um,
Last thing I want to talk about for the or there's two things I want to talk about for the dub stuff. So the English release by Disney in 2010 has more elements reverted to the Japanese version, not all of them,
yeah,
and they did remove that line about Gigi at the end,
they did.
just to make it more consistent
Did you
with
happen
the
to come
original.
across any information about because I actually thought that the reason Disney had to make those changes is because the streamlined version did not meet Miyazaki's standards. But you said that
They
those
had
changes
it
were approved.
approved.
So
So it might just have been an artistic change over time because that was 30 years ago when this movie was originally dubbed. In all likelihood, Miyazaki watched the updated version and didn't like it.
maybe. I mean, so Miyazaki, for those of you that don't know, has a no cuts rule, which is strictly enforced. And there's this fun story with Kiki specifically that in order to make his point to Disney about not cutting anything, and when Miyazaki says no cuts, he means you can't cut the physical content and you also can't cut the original intent. So if you do something that changes the original intent of the story, he's not about it. And in order to make this point to Disney, because they had suggested some sort of adaptation or change, he sent a katana to their main office. I don't know if this is true, but I like the story.
That sounds like a believable enough tale that's really entertaining, so I'll choose to believe it because it's exciting and interesting.
I Hey man, it could have happened. There's a lot of surprising things that when I first hear about, I'm like, there's no way that's true. And then you hear somebody talk about it, and it was absolutely true. So I believe that it could have happened. Do I think that Miyazaki is the kind of person that would do that? Hard to say. I've never actually met him, but I know he's a very meticulous and particular creator, so that alone kind of makes me feel like it could happen.
Oh, 100%. My last little fun fact is that in the Spanish dub international version,
Uh-huh.
Kiki is renamed as Nikki.
Why?
In Castilian, Kiki is slang and it's using the expression echar un Kiki, which means to have intercourse. So they weren't having that. So that's
Fair.
why they changed it to Nikki.
That's fair. That's
That's
pretty
very
fair.
fair. That's very fair. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Considering Kiki's 13.
Yes. So very weird to have any association with it.
This is one of those things though that's just sort of one of the inevitabilities of adapting something to a foreign language and a foreign market, which is why the adaptation process is so important. And I mean, like in America, we have 4 Kids that handles a lot of the adaptations of stuff that comes over from Japan, and people give them a lot of crap. But like there's a lot of things that you sort of have to control for. And I've not heard of anything like that specifically in English, but that's a great example of where
Mhm.
absolutely reasonable to
Oh
change
yeah,
that.
I'm not questioning that. No way.
But yeah,
I'm
so
not touching. I'm not touching that with 10 foot pole.
on the
Works for me.
topic of Gigi though, like this is the last thought that I had. Um Gigi seems so I rewatched it recently because I haven't seen Kiki for quite a while, and it was actually longer than I remembered it. Not by a lot, because typically I think of Ghibli movies being 90 minutes, and this was an hour and 45. So what is that? Like 105 minutes or 110 minutes or something like that.
It,
And I remembered my memory of Gigi is that Gigi was more of a like comic relief sidekick character, but on a rewatch, he felt like kind of the voice of reason. Like he was still funny and I enjoyed Gigi as a character, but he seemed a little bit more like the voice of reason. He seemed a little bit more like a stick in the mud. He reminded me a lot of Squidward when I was rewatching it. I don't know if I don't know if you felt that way, but there was so many instances where Kiki went to go do something and it was kind of impulsive to be totally fair because she's a child, and Gigi was like, "Maybe we don't do that."
hmm
So that I thought was added an interesting dynamic and also kind of makes it odd that Miyazaki's perspective is that Gigi is an immature version of
So
Kiki.
as you say this, I think more about it, and the more I sort of aligned with Miyazaki's views, where Kiki no longer needs to talk to Gigi because Gigi is the voice of reason when she's doing all these things. So it's sort of like that voice in the back of your head, like, "Hey, maybe don't do that. You're not going to listen to it, but maybe don't do that."
Right. So that fades because she doesn't need it anymore is what
Correct.
you're saying? Yeah.
Yes, and that's why you saying that makes me more aligned with. Oh, maybe she doesn't need to talk to Gigi.
Yeah. And I have heard
It's not like
things.
Gigi disappears. He's still in the background. He just doesn't need to actively tell her, "Hey, don't do
Don't
that."
do that. Yeah, because she has her own um she has her own ability now to check herself,
Right.
which that's like kind of how I interpreted it on a rewatch. Because obviously, when I watched this originally as a kid, it had that line at the end where Gigi could talk to her again, where the implication was that she rediscovered her witch's powers. And I go both ways on it because on the one hand, as an artist, because one of the ways that she's able to reconnect with her witch powers is by having that interaction with what's her face, the artist. I forget what her name is. And as an artist myself, you there are times in your life where you do lose for a variety of reasons you lose touch with your personal voice, which seems to be the analogy for her witch's powers, and interacting with Ursula. I'm going to say Ursula allows her to get in touch with that again, which allows her then to talk to Gigi, and that's my original encounter with it. And on the one hand, I like that because as a creator, it's encouraging. It means that every now and again you may lose touch with your source of creativity and your vision, but there's always a way to find your way back. But then on the flip side, I do see this, well, you've matured and you're now fully capable and you have total faculty over your sense of reason and you don't need it anymore. Like I can see it going both ways. And it's tough. And I think that's why Miyazaki even goes back and forth on it, because I think they're both valid and I think you need each of them at different stages in your life.
No
Yeah.
arguments from here. Like, there's nothing I can argue against.
Yeah, it's so those are my thoughts about Gigi, which I actually think surprisingly is a central plot point, which I don't think you think
So
about when you're watching the movie.
that is a bit of a This is a sort of segue into um, the movie is actually based off of a children's novel of the
Right.
same name,
Right.
but it deviates from the story and themes. there was a live action made apparently that was closer to 2014 that was narrated by the original author.
I heard about that. And so I'm just curious. I didn't get a chance to look into what the original source material was or what it was about. So do you happen to know more about that?
So the reason I'm segueing into this is that losing her powers and airship stuff was original to the film because Miyazaki wanted Kiki to face tougher challenges and loneliness in the course of the movie. But Majo no Takubin is more episodic and it involves Kiki, her adventures, and featuring the townsfolk. It's like little short sections with her interacting with the townsfolk, and a lot of the conflicts are solved by her kindness and her like being willing to help,
Right.
and
Okay.
overcoming challenges while making deliveries.
Okay.
So Miyazaki, when adapting this, went in this direction where, hey, it's a film, there should be a big climax. Whereas Majo no Takubin is more, hey, Kiki has this problem today. Kiki has this problem tomorrow. Kiki will have this problem next week.
Yeah. I do think that
So I think a bit of that is sort of when you have that little sequence in the montage in the middle where after she made her first delivery, there's a couple other things and she's just kind of working. So that's probably closer to what you would find in the novel because I didn't actually get a chance to read it.
sure.
I know that the author very much did not appreciate the changes because
Really?
she was also uh kind of a stickler for like my art should be done this way, but they sort of made amends and she did that live action narration that she approved more of.
That's interesting because I didn't originally know that this was based on a book, but it did spur me to do a little bit of a reading. And I didn't look into specifically what the plot of the book was, but what I did find is that it's a she, right? The author, I don't
Yes, I believe
remember.
so.
She was inspired by the movie to add more to the book. So the book was
Hmm.
originally a standalone novel, and
Right.
now there's a series of novels because of this movie. So
It
it's
might
surprising to
it
me
might
that
have been like an initial like reaction to it that I
sure.
was reading on, because when you take all this time and energy to make this world, if
Oh,
someone does it just a
absolutely.
little off, then you're not a fan. But you theoretically recover and then like sort of analyze and like adapt your own work to improve it, or
Yeah.
just completely shoot down. Fun like how Christopher Paolini, I don't know if you know him, he did Aragon.
I know Aragon.
Absolutely, absolutely hates the film adaptation.
Does he
Like
really? But we all do.
he actively to this day is on Reddit boards when you summon him. When you talk about worst live action like adaptations
That's
of books,
hilarious.
he will just show up and agree that man, that movie stank.
That's hilarious. I mean, like, to be fair, I don't think it's a great adaptation in
No, it's
general.
not at all. It is
So
garbage.
I'm on his side. But the thing is, guys, we need to stop making live action remakes. They don't
Well,
pan
in
out.
Aragon's case, it wasn't a live action remake. It was an adaptation. A lot. They were expecting it to be the next big Harry Potter.
Sure, sure, right. And you're right that
But
it wasn't.
apparently, but maybe the Kiki live action might be interesting because it was based closer on the novel. So I there's nothing wrong with a live action adaptation, but make a live action adaptation for a reason.
Yes.
Make it different. Don't give me a shot for shot worst remake of Lion King.
Yeah.
Like you gave me gave me cool people as voice actors, sure, but you didn't do anything with the damn movie.
Yeah. I definitely agree that if you're gonna do it, have a reason to do it that isn't, I want to make more money. Like that
Well,
can't.
that's the current Disney method. I still can't believe they're making
That's
remaking Moana, but that's
but
neither here
that's
nor there.
everybody's though. That's everybody's though
Yeah.
because How to Train Your Dragon just came out and you know that that was a money grab even though apparently it was a good adaptation. I That was definitely a cash grab. So
Yes, from what I didn't watch it. From what I read, it was a shot for shot remake, and that's why people were like, "Oh, this is great." but also like if it's a shot for shot remake, just watch the damn original.
Yeah, like
It
why
still holds
bother
up.
making it? I agree. I think just stop
I will
making them.
say, if a movie has someone heinous in it, then maybe you can remake it. For example, if O.J. Simpson is in the movie, if you want to remake it, go ahead.
What an
If you want to
interesting
remake it shot for
criteria.
shot minus O.J. Simpson, but it has to be someone really heinous.
That's such a I don't even know how to pivot away from that. So I'm just gonna hard cut. Did you
Oh,
know?
speaking of horrible people, we haven't talked about John Lasseter, and
Okay, so
and this is way.
speaking of hard cuts,
Your Honor, I object!
did you know that Miyazaki makes a cameo in this movie?
uh,
Yeah, I stumbled across this and I tried to fact check it, but apparently he shows up in the crowd at the end of the movie, kind of Stan Lee style, um, but
that's crazy.
with less focus.
Has he done that in any other movie?
This is the only film that he's apparently made a cameo in, if it's true.
That's wild. Or okay, if you weren't able to find it, is it potentially just an old dude with two glasses?
Dude, it could be. It could be. I'm not.
I will. You know how like some people are like, oh, that's so and so, but it's just like, oh no, that's just that just happened to be the design. Maybe it's just an old dude with glasses.
Could be. Or maybe that was Miyazaki's whole thing is like, I don't want people to know that this is me, but this is me.
But nothing against Kiki. Why Kiki's delivery service if he has to put in one cameo throughout his career?
I don't know.
All
Don't know,
right.
man.
Well,
He
it's interesting if it is.
maybe this was like his story because I do know
Mm-hmm.
that for Kiki's he always does a lot of research, but he went pretty hardcore on this. Like
Right.
I read and you can actually see this is in some of the bonus content if you have the DVD version. So this is like not a secret. But he apparently would spend days sitting in the park watching women and little girls walk by to see how their clothes moved in order to accurately represent it in the movie. Like he would spend days just observing and sketching and making notes and like at a glance that sounds kind of creepy, but also like we talked about in a previous episode how he would instruct his staff to watch the kids across the street so that they could accurately portray May and Totoro. Like it's a very like it makes sense because you if you want to accurately and realistically represent something, you have to draw that from somewhere. You can't just make it up.
I'm kind of sad that I shoehorned the John Lasseter bit a little too early because this is where I would have talked about well, like sort of like how in Finding Nemo, where they actually redefined how you do physics for water in CG movies, and
Yeah.
anyway, uh,
Yeah, it's true.
so near the end of Totoro's production, members of Studio Ghibli were recruited as senior staff for Kiki's delivery service.
Oh.
Katsuya Kondo did character design. Hiroshi Ono was hired as director. So now,
Ono, by the way, is like a huge pillar in Ghibli. If you don't know, Ono is like, other than Miyazaki, everything goes through Ono.
yes. Uh,
Everything.
and Sunao Katabuchi was chosen by Miyazaki as director. And apparently, this is his directorial debut, and he knocked it out of the park. That
That's
is
that's
insane.
wild.
Imagine your first movie being Kiki's fucking delivery service.
I
Like,
know.
Jesus.
That's pretty insane. I sometimes you hear about people's careers and you're just these people were just born to do it. It's like how? How? Out of the gate?
Uh,
What do you
ima-
mean?
imagine, imagine if we had talent. Like,
Don't
I
remind me,
can't imagine.
Eric.
I can't imagine that. Um, so since the novel is based in Northern Europe, Miyazaki and senior staff did go throughout Europe to do research on site, but they primarily did research in Stockholm and Visby in the Swedish island of Gotland.
Yeah. Which If you've never been, it's very accurate to the setting. The meticulousness, I mean, like, this is in all of his movies, but the meticulousness with which the setting is handled, it's incredible. It again, maybe I'll throw up a couple of pictures, but again, like anime draws from life, and if you put up a picture of Kiki's, the town in Kiki's, and you put up a picture of Stockholm, it's like
Mm.
exactly the same.
Yeah, the only thing else I have to talk about is with regards to the ending, Miyazaki had to plan for it to sort of be relevant throughout the movie. So like the dirigible, he had to keep mentioning it throughout the movie in order to not like just catch people by surprise because
Yeah,
he wanted to build the world. Um, so he said if this incident occurred in the first half of the story, the film would have easily revolved around it. Given how it occurs at the end, the dirigible had to be peripheral throughout the story, so the final scene wouldn't be completely out of the blue. We
yeah,
also had to come up with various approaches, like the television broadcast, to make it seem more real.
yeah.
So this sort of world building that he's amazing at, every single little bit is planned out.
I I'm so glad you brought up the dirigible because I had a question about it that I'm just
I've
curious what your thoughts are.
never heard that term outside of this movie.
Dirigible?
Yeah.
The Hindenburg was a dirigible. Did you not?
Yeah, but most people just say blimp.
I guess, but it's called a dirigible.
I know, but like no, it's because no one uses dirigibles. The only time I ever see a dirigible is a Goodyear blimp, and no one says Goodyear dirigible.
I guess. That's wild to me. I never thought about that. It was very normal to me. But anyway, I
You're not normal.
my question is, do you think that this like climactic scene in the movie was inspired by the dirigible catastrophe that happened in Germany? Like, because I feel
I
like
don't
there's a
think so.
lot of similarities, and it made me
I
think of that.
I want to say no only because, well, like you said, life draws from heart, so maybe. But I want to say no, but just because it's a good chance to use Kiki losing her powers and needing to reawaken her powers to save someone.
Yeah. I mean, like that's obviously the driving factor, and I probably only default to that because I'm a history buff, so the connection is very easy to make because that's literally the most famous dirigible in the world.
Ew.
I do have
Um,
I do have one other question, which is I get initially why Kiki's weirded out by Tombo, but she continues to be kind of a jerk to Tombo for the rest of the movie until the turn, like 2/3 of the way through. And I'm just curious, like what you thought. Like I thought he was kind of getting the short end of the stick, and I get it. He was like very extroverted and very like, "Hey, welcome to our city," and that can be off-putting to people. But I felt
I
like,
mean, Kiki's the whole story is like sort of like growing up in maturity. So Kiki's just being immature as she has the right to be. She's 13. Like, and
yeah,
also
I
like we
agree.
we we look at like how she interacts with her family and like town initially, and people are more used to her, so they're not as oh my god a witch and excited about her existing as
Yeah,
much as Tombo is.
yeah, that's true.
So that's just like a hey, this is a new experience. I haven't quite gotten used to this experience yet.
Yeah, that's fair. I do admire his perseverance though, that he's
Hmm.
not immediately like striking out. Well, I mean like he immediately strikes out, but that doesn't get him down. That's what it
Right.
doesn't get him down. He
Yeah.
keeps at it.
Hmm.
I like Tombo. Tombo's one.
Yeah, he's great.
Also, it's so wild that he just rides his bike with a full-on propeller in the middle of a street. It's like, does nobody else like as a kid, I thought this was one of the coolest scenes ever.
Oh, it
I
was
thought it was
awesome.
so much fun. And now as an adult, I'm like, there's no way that thing would kill someone.
Kids don't care about safety. He wasn't even wearing a helmet. It's fine.
I know it was like it's just a wild scene, just in general, that I had to
Hmm.
point out because it was. I mean, it's cool. It's
It
still a cool scene.
it's fine. There's witches. Physics don't. If he hit a car, he'd be okay. He'd be walking away without a scratch
Yeah,
because that's just how physics works in this universe.
I
It's fine.
guess it's
He'll be okay.
So, anyway, those are our thoughts. Eric, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this installment of Road to Waifu Ghibli Fest. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.